Good morning, students. We are going to begin with the next lecture on electric field only in continuation, as we have discussed Gauss theorem in the previous lecture. So in this lecture we will be talking about the applications of Gauss theorem. It means how we can use Gauss theorem for the different purposes, like to find first of all we will be doing Coulomb's law. We will be proving Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem, just to show that Gauss theorem is nothing else but another way of writing the Coulomb's law only. And of course we will be finding the electric field intensity due to the line charge and due to plane sheet as well, and we will be doing some related questions also on the basis of that. So let us begin with the first point with us is we want to prove Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem. So what it is, you have done both the things earlier only. Gauss theorem, you all know that it is about the electric flux, and according to Gauss theorem the flux is equals to, of course, the electric flux for a closed surface we talk about is equals to 1 upon epsilon naught times the charge enclosed within that surface. This is according to Gauss theorem, you all are aware of. And of course you are aware of the Coulomb's law also, you have studied earlier, that is regarding the forces between the two charged bodies. It can be the attractive force or it can be the repulsive force. So what you have to do is we have to use Gauss theorem and we have to prove Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem. Then what we are supposing is, we are supposing here that let my charge, positive charge plus q charge is here, and I am drawing a Gaussian surface. We have already discussed Gaussian surface is an imaginary surface. If I am taking at a particular distance r, I draw a sphere for a point charge, I will be always taking the Gaussian surface as the spherical surface only. So this sphere has been drawn around this unit, around this charge which is q I have taken, but positive charge I have taken. So of course the direction of electric field will be outward. If I want to find the electric field at a given point, like at this point, I will be putting the test charge here, of course q naught, and for q naught charge I will be finding the electric field. Just to see the direction of electric field, this is the direction of electric field outward, because the charge q here is positive. And if I have taken the small surface area of this, then this ds is the area, and but we have discussed that area is a vector quantity. So we have to talk about the direction of this area vector, which is always perpendicular and outward. So this is also having the same direction as that of E vector. So it means your electric field and the area vector here, they both are in the same direction. Now if I apply the Gauss theorem, then it means the angle between E and area vector is 0. So E dot ds, this is by the definition of electric flux phi, it is written as the dot product of electric field and the area vector. And when I am going to find for this spherical surface, I have to take the surface integral over the closed surface, that is equals to E dot ds, which is equals to q upon epsilon naught. This is your previous knowledge. Now here you can see the angle between E and ds is 0, so cos 0 is 1. So it means I can simply write the integration of E and ds, which is equals to q upon epsilon naught. Here I have drawn the sphere at a distance r from the center. So if I want to find the surface area for this whole spherical surface, that is obviously 4 pi r square. So integral of ds, which is the surface area of this spherical surface, which is equals to 4 pi r square, I can replace integration of ds by 4 pi r square. So simply by rearranging, I am getting the value for the electric field, which is coming out to be q upon 4 pi r square into epsilon naught. Now I know the relation between the electrostatic force and the electric field. For that, of course, we have to assume that test charge Q naught is available on the surface wherever I want to find, at whatever point on the surface, because all the points are at the same distance. That distance is, we have supposed, small r. So by this relation between the electrostatic force and field, you can write the value of F, which is equals to Q naught E, and the value of E we have seen by using Gauss theorem. So if I put the value, I am getting, this is the expression for the force, which is equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught divided by r square. This is again the Coulomb's law by the statement of Coulomb's law, and of course if I want to write the direction of the force, that will be again same as that of electric field. Force and field, they are acting in the same direction. So it means what it is, Gauss theorem is nothing but it's another way to write the Coulomb's law, or I can get the Coulomb's law from the Gauss theorem. So if question is coming to you that you have to derive Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem, then these steps you are supposed to follow for proving it. And direction also you can always mention will be same as that of electric field, because force is a vector quantity. And here we have written in bold, that means we are talking about the vector quantity. Next point with me is, I want to find electric field due to a line charge. So by now you have understood this thing, that by using Gauss theorem, in place of starting from the force, all this I do from the scratch, I can directly apply the Gauss theorem and I can find the electric field. This due to line charge you people have already done as a question using Coulomb's law also. So but if you use Gauss theorem, then you will be able to see that the things become quite easy for you people. So of course you have to take some Gaussian surface. This is the line charge. This is the line charge which is positively charged. So charge is uniformly distributed over the line. This is a very thin wire like thing, but here in the diagram some specific thickness has been shown just to make it visible. Now what it is, if I am taking r as the distance for this point P, this is the point P where I want to find the electric field due to this line charge. This is infinitely long line charge, infinite length is there, but we are just focusing on the specific thickness, length of this, and at any point P, the point P can be taken anywhere. So if I am taking my point P here, this is a positively charged, then of course the electric field has to work in the outward direction as shown. This is the direction of the electric field, outward. If I am taking from this part, small part of the line charge, then the direction of electric field will come like this. So same way I can take from the different parts and I can find the things. That is simple method. But now if I want to use Gauss theorem, I have to draw a Gaussian surface. Gaussian surface, shape of the Gaussian surface will depend upon the shape of the object for which I am finding the electric field. Like for a point charge, I have taken it as a spherical surface. Similarly, if I am having a line charge, I have to take it as a cylindrical surface. The surface should be spherically symmetric, of course. That is the condition for the Gaussian surface. Of course, it is a closed surface. It should be spherically symmetric. We have discussed all the conditions when the Gauss law can be used or Gauss theorem can be applied. So this is an imaginary surface, that is why only we try to draw it in the dotted line, but even if you draw by solid line, it is obviously clear. You can write it this as the Gaussian surface, and then you can work out with the things. Field is always radial, means it is acting from the distance outward this way only. So wherever I want to draw the electric field, I can draw outward only this way. All the things, if you want to draw here the electric field will be drawn like this only. It will be in the outward direction, both the ways it can be. So this can be the way of denoting the electric field. So that should be clear first of all. And here at this point, it means this is not going this way. Electric field, the direction should be clear to you. Once the direction is clear, now you are ready to find the electric field. That steps are very simple because you are aware of the Gauss theorem. This is another way of putting the line charge. I can put it horizontally, I can put it vertically, but you have to draw the cylinder like this, which is at distance r. This is the point P which I have taken. Electric field is moving in this direction, outward. If I take this side, it will be in the downward, but in the outward direction only. So what it is, if I take the surface area for the cylindrical surface and for this circular part which is on the top at the bottom, then you can see the area vectors are as shown in the diagram. This is for this part, small part, ds1, this is ds2, second part, this is ds3. But electric field is in the outward direction, this way upward or this way. You can say outward only, in the downward direction also. So what it is, just for simplicity we have taken only 3 paths just to make the things clear to you. And this is r is the distance from the line charge for a given point P. This is the P point. So according to Gauss theorem, electric flux is equals to the surface integral over the closed surface we are taking for E dot ds, that is by the definition of electric flux. This is equals to 1 upon epsilon naught times the charge enclosed. This is by the Gauss theorem. We are assuming that the charge enclosed is small q only, and when we are not writing anything, it means we are assuming it to be positive sign. If we are assuming it negative, then of course it will be mentioned. So by default we take it as positive charge. So for the 3 surfaces, it means we are taking, now for the first surface, if you see the direction of the E and ds is same, so theta will be 0. For the second surface S2 if I am taking, then the angle between E and ds2 is equals to 90 degree. And here for the third surface, this will be again 90 degree. So when theta is 90, cos 90 is 0. So cos 90 is 0, it means due to the second surface as well as due to the third surface, there will be no flux. No flux due to the second and third surface, only flux will be there because of the first surface when theta is 0. And when theta is 0, you can write it equals to E ds, because cos 0 is 1, which is equals to q upon epsilon naught, using this first equation which I have written by the definition of electric flux and the Gauss theorem. So this much is clear to you. It means I am getting surface integral of E ds. ds is the cylindrical part, this part with you, and then I want to write the value of integral of ds. If this is r is the distance, it means radius of the cylinder, and if I assume L to be the length of the cylinder, small l, then the area will be equals to 2 pi r into L. These assumptions should be clear to you. Length we are assuming small l, this distance which will act as the radius of the cylinder is small r. Then you can write the integral of ds, which is equals to yours 2 pi r L, and this is equals to q upon epsilon naught. So I can write the result for the electric field, which is equals to q upon 2 pi r L epsilon naught. So I can write, because you all know q upon L, charge per unit length, is linear charge density, which is denoted by lambda. So I can replace q upon L by lambda only. So I can write electric field in terms of the linear charge density, which is equals to lambda upon 2 pi r epsilon naught. The same result you people have already derived by using Coulomb's law. So result, either I go with the Gauss theorem or I am going with the Coulomb's law, my result is coming out to be same. But this method is quite easy. So Gauss theorem, we are able to find many objects, for many objects electric field we are able to find by the symmetry method only, which is very difficult otherwise finding using Coulomb's law. So if you want to write it vectorically, in the form of vector form, then the direction of the electric field as it is shown in the diagram is outward, can be written as n cap, which is the radial unit vector in a plane normal to the wire passing through that point. Here one thing you have to note, that if lambda is positive, like charge is positive, then it is directed outward. But if in the question they give you lambda as negative, then of course the electric field will be in the inward direction, but the expression will come out to be same. Direction of the electric field will get changed only if I take the charge as positive or charge as negative, and by taking the charge positive or negative, I am simply changing the value of lambda as positive or negative. So this was the expression with you for the electric field due to a line charge, which already you have done using Coulomb's law. Next with you is, we want to find the electric field due to a uniformly charged thin sheet. So thickness is very small, it's very thin sheet, and my aim is I want to find the electric field due to the uniformly charged. It means charge is uniformly distributed over the sheet. This is positive charge again we have taken. We are assuming that sigma is the surface charge density. It means if charge is q and area of the sheet is given to you, S is the area if I write, then sigma will be equals to q upon S, charge per unit area. We are assuming that thickness of the sheet is equals to the thickness of the charge. This is just for our convenience we are assuming, and that is why we are saying that charge, your lines will be on the both sides equally. It means electric field will be equal, either I go to the right direction or I go to the left direction. It is outward because positive charge. So here electric field is like this, and here the electric field will be like this. You can draw the electric field if you have any confusion. This is the electric field in this direction, and in this way this will be the electric field in the other direction. So both the directions you can draw the electric field. Directions of the field should be clear to you. That is very important. Now what it is, again we have to use the Gauss theorem, and for applying Gauss theorem we have to take a Gaussian surface. This is the method whenever we are using the Gauss theorem. This is a three-dimensional view. I may take the cubical, like given in your NCERT, cubical surface I can assume the Gaussian surface, or I can assume a cylindrical surface. Choice is yours, and accordingly you will be able to write the steps, but of course the result will come out to be same, because here if you see the direction of the electric field is outward this way, and here if you are seeing this is also this way. And if you take the area vectors for the different parts, like again we have done this, I am taking as the first part, this second, and the cylindrical surface can be taken as the third part. Now this way, if you see the direction of the electric field is this way, and ds vector yours is also outward normal, so both are in the same direction. Here also if you see the electric field direction is outward, and if you see the area vector again outward, so both are in the same direction. It means flux due to the left part, due to the right part. Because I am taking the small parts, I can write that small charge is contributing, so I will be writing dq as the small charge, that is divided by epsilon. By the definition of flux, d phi e for the small part, it can be written as E ds for the left and right part. Of course this cylindrical part will not contribute here, because ds will be in this direction, outward, normal will be outward. So angle between ds and E vector will be 90 degree, and when this angle is 90 degree, it means the cylindrical part will not contribute to the flux, only these circular parts will contribute, or the side parts you can see will contribute, left part as well as the right part. And you have to take E dot ds for left and right both the parts, which is equals to the by the definition of Gauss theorem, charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. So both magnitudes, you can see the values are same, theta is also 0. So cos 0 is 1, so you are getting 2 times E ds, which is equals to dq upon epsilon naught. And if I want to write the total value, then of course I have to take the integral over the surface, and when you are taking the integral over the surface, then you are finding E equals to dq upon, here you are getting ds epsilon naught, and dq by ds can be written as sigma also. One method you can do by writing integration, or another you can simply take from the expression and you replace small charge per unit area, that is equals to the surface charge density. So you can replace it by sigma, so E can be written as sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. And here you have to see that it is independent of the distance r where I am taking the things, it is not dependent upon that. So it means electric field is remaining uniform throughout. So if I have already written it in the form of vector only, that n cap is showing you the outward direction for the electric field normal to the plane and going away from it. Here also you have to note it down that sigma, if sigma is positive, it means charge is positive, and when charge is positive, as we have done, direction is outward as shown in the diagram. And if we take sigma as negative, it means charge is negative, then the direction of E will be inward. Then here I will be getting the negative sign because cos 180 degree angle 180 degree will be formed and cos 180 will be negative sign. So that is negative sign will be simply to show the direction in the inward. It means direction inward for negative charge and it is outward away for the positive charge. So the important thing is that E is independent of the position of the point. So in this expression, when I am writing E equals to sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, n cap is showing you the direction of the electric field because electric field is a vector quantity. We have now two parallel thin charged sheets with us. Like earlier we have done only for one sheet. So if one sheet is clear, then you can do for two parallel sheets. The sheets can be shown by this way also, but you have to write A and B are two thin sheets, or you may draw it like this. Both the methods are correct. Now what is my aim is? My aim is to find the electric field in these three regions which are shown as 1, 2 and 3. Here also we have tried to show 1, 2 and 3. First region is this, second is this, third is this, and they are positively charged. And when they are positively charged, it means the electric field has to go in the outward direction away from it. For this first sheet A, you may assume sigma A as the surface charge density, or you may take it as sigma 1, choice is yours. Here for the second sheet, B sheet, I may write it as sigma B, or I may write it as sigma 2. So whatever way it is convenient to you, you people can write the things. Now what it is, we have only seen that for one sheet, if I want to find the electric field intensity at any point here, supposingly at P point, which is here lying in between the two sheets, then it is given by sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. So if I am finding due to the first sheet, E1 is in this direction outward, and the value is sigma A upon 2 epsilon naught, or you may write sigma 1 upon 2 epsilon naught. If I am finding due to the second sheet, it will be outward from this sheet. So it is going towards left, E1 is going towards right. See, if I want to find, I will be removing the B sheet first. I find the direction of E1. First, E1 in the left direction is outward, right direction outward. Here whether I have the B sheet or I don't have. So E1 is in the outward direction, both the sides, left or right. Now if I am bringing the B sheet, let us remove the A sheet. You can find the direction of E2. E2 is again positive charged sheet, B is a positively charged sheet, so E2 has to be again in the outward direction. So it means E2 is in this direction outward as shown, here also outward. So direction should be clear for the electric field because of both the sheets with me. So now if directions are clear, then you can see in the first reason, if you are finding, then the direction of E1 and E2 both are coming same, that is towards left. So if I want to put the value of E1 and E2, then the values E1 is sigma A upon 2 epsilon naught, E2 is sigma B upon 2 epsilon naught. Here negative sign is because by convention we take the right direction as positive and the left direction as negative, but E1 and E2 both are acting in the left direction, so negative sign is simply to show that the electric field is acting along left direction. So net electric field in the first reason will be given by E1 plus E2 but with negative sign. So value of E1 and E2 you can write from your previous knowledge. Similarly, if I take the third reason, in the third reason you can see E1 and E2 both are in the same direction but towards right. Again they are to be added but with positive sign, so it will be equals to sigma A plus sigma B upon 2 epsilon naught. Now if I go in the second reason, then you see E1 is coming in along the right direction and E2 is coming along left direction. So both are in the opposite direction. So here it will be E1 minus E2. I can write, by convention we are taking positive sign to be greater, but if some numerical is there, then depending upon the value of sigma A and sigma B, you will be getting the results. Here it means we are taking sigma A is greater than sigma B. So if sigma A is greater than sigma B and it is in the positive direction, so I have written my result with positive sign. I am getting sigma A upon 2 epsilon naught minus sigma B upon 2 epsilon naught. So this is the electric field. I can write the electric field in all the three reasons, first, second and third, as it is shown in the diagram, and the explanation already is with you. So you can work out with the things. This is very important, because on the basis of this you may write a special case also, that if values of sigma 1 or sigma 2 are given to you. If you want to write the steps of derivation, you can write. Here we have written the sigma 1 as the uniform surface density on A, sigma 2 as the uniform surface charge density on B, E1, E2 are the electric fields. Here we have written in terms of sigma 1 and sigma 2. And in the three reasons we have already shown you, I think with that diagram only the things are very clear to you. This is for the first reason, it is towards left. For the third reason, it is towards right. For the second reason, again it is towards right. If I write sigma A equals to plus sigma and sigma B equals to, I am writing sigma 1 equals to plus sigma and sigma 2 equals to minus sigma. If this is my supposition, then what I will be doing? What will be my result in the three reasons? Then here it means you will be getting the result equals to sigma minus sigma means 0. And here also you will get it 0. And here you will be getting it equals to sigma upon epsilon. You can work it out yourself. So what will happen? It means this charge is positive, this charge is negative, then direction of the electric field lines will be from positive to negative. And here if you are writing sigma A equals to plus sigma and this is equals to minus of minus sigma, it means plus. So 2 sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, 2 sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, it means it is sigma upon epsilon naught. I will be having the electric field. If this plate is B is negative, A is positive, then the direction of the electric field will be always from positive to negative. As we have done in the previous lectures also, direction of the electric field is also that way, always from positive to negative. And if I want to write the electric field intensity in between these two plates, then it will be equals to sigma upon epsilon naught. But if I put the value here, then this is plus sigma, this is minus sigma, plus and this minus will become equals to 0. Here also plus and minus will become equals to 0. So in the first reason and the third reason there will be no electric field. Electric field will be there only in the second reason. This is one question taken from your NCERT only, because the knowledge of flux is very, very important. And when we are talking about the flux, even it is a scalar quantity, but the electric field which we are finding using Gauss theorem is a vector quantity. So we have to take the direction of the electric field by using the Gauss theorem or by the knowledge of flux. This particular question has been asked many times in different exams by simply changing the value of Ex. Here the value of electric component is given Ex, which is equals to alpha x power 1 by 2. They have said Ey and Ez are equal to 0. It means electric fields along the y direction and z direction are 0, only it is varying along the x direction. Now this data can be changed to frame different questions. So basically you have to understand the concept. Here alpha they have given, this alpha is given 800 Newton per Coulomb, and then meter per meter power 1 by 2 they have given. You have to calculate the flux through the cube and you have to find the charge within the cube. You have to assume that A is the each side of this cube, which they have given 0.1 meter. And here you see they have given you this diagram as well. In this diagram they have given you x, y, z axis, and this distance from the origin also they have taken it as A, this distance. So this is the left face, this is the right face of the cube, and you have to find the electric field which is acting on the left face, electric field acting on the right face. So because we are having positive charge, because they have not mentioned anything, we will assume positive charge. So direction of the electric field is in the outward direction, and the area vector is also in the outward direction for left and right faces. You can find the flux which is given by E dot ds for each face. So because there is no electric field along y and z directions, so no component of the flux will be there. No flux will be there along the y and z direction, only flux will be along the x direction. So you can find electric field, you can write the values for electric field by using this equation. On the left face it is alpha x power 1 by 2. So this is your alpha x power 1 by 2 and x is given as A distance. This distance is given as A. And if I take for the right face, this distance will become, this is A, and further this side A. So this distance will become twice of A. So value of x for left face it is equals to A, for the right face it is equals to 2A, and that value of x you have to write in this expression for the electric field, which is equals to alpha x power 1 by 2. This is, I have written the value of electric fields from the given equation. And if I am willing to find the flux for the left face, it is given by the dot product of the field and the area vector. So you have to write this area vector is having the same direction. For the left face, if you see electric field, they have given towards the right direction and area vector is coming in this direction, because Ex is given by alpha x power 1 by 2 is acting along the x direction only. So it means direction of the electric field is along the x direction, and area vectors are as shown in the diagram. So for the left face this angle will be 180, for the right face the angle will be 0, theta will be 0. You can find the flux due to the left face flux due to the right phase. And net flux you can find by simply adding the fluxes due to the right and the left phase. So you will be able to get this as the result by simply putting the value of A. A is given 0.1 meter. Once you have found the flux, you can find the charge by using Gauss theorem, which is equals to Q, phi it is equals to Q upon epsilon naught. So Q will be given by phi epsilon naught. Phi we have already calculated. So you can find the value of charge by simply putting the value of phi and epsilon naught. Thus this is the result of the charge with you, which is coming in coulomb. You better need to write all the steps to understand this question, because you may try different questions where they have given the value of E as 2ax plus b, or they may change the value of Ex, or they may give it to you in the terms of Ey or Ez. So a number of questions can be framed on the same basis. So you have to understand this as first question with you, and then you try more questions from your other books when they are changing the value of the fields, and then accordingly you will be finding the flux and thus, but the formula of Gauss theorem is same, so these formulas will remain the same. Only the value of EL and ER can be changed by changing this equation. So because they are saying E is acting along x direction, by this only it has x component, so which is along by default it will be always towards the positive x direction. Taking one more question with you, that is on the basis of the thin charged wire. If I am having an infinitely long positively charged wire which has a linear charge density lambda, coulomb per meter, this is the unit for the lambda is coulomb per meter, because lambda is Q upon L. So it means coulomb per meter. This is they have given in SI system only. An electron is revolving around the wire as its center with a constant velocity. They are saying a wire is there and electron is moving around the wire in the circular plane perpendicular to the wire. You have to find the expression for the kinetic energy. And of course you have to plot a graph of the kinetic energy as a function of charge density lambda. So concept here which you will be using is that when a charge is moving along the wire, it means the force between the two charges, that is the electrostatic force, will be providing you the centripetal force, because that want to move in the circular path. Electron is revolving in the circular path. Electron is having some charge. That long positively charged wire, when I am at a particular point I am taking, that is also having some charge. So charges, the force between the charges will be the electrostatic force, and the centripetal force you have done in class 11th is given by mv square by r, and the value of force you can write by the charge into the electric field. So capital E here is the electric field, V we are assuming as the orbital velocity of the electron, r as the radius, and E is the electronic charge. Straight wire, we have already derived the expression for the electric field. The magnitude is E equals to lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught r. So r is the distance which is here taken as the radius. So if you are equating the values from 1 and 2 equations, then you can simply put the value of E in this equation, first equation. So it will be equals to small e, capital E value you will put, which is equals to lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught r. This is equals to mv square by r. So mv square you are getting equals to, because small r is going to get cancelled on both the sides. So you are getting mv square, it is equals to E lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught. And you know the formula for kinetic energy, which is equals to half mv square. So you have to multiply this value with 1 by 2 only. So if you multiply, you are getting the result equals to E lambda upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So you are getting kinetic energy is coming directly proportional to the linear charge density, that is lambda. So if you want to do the graph plotting, of course it will come out to be a straight line by using this relation. So this is again a simple question. Only the thing is, you have not to forget your previous knowledge. You should be knowing the centripetal force. This electrostatic force you have studied just now. This is your previous knowledge and you should be able to understand the question. Then the things will become very easy for you. Thank you all for attending the lecture.